lovers. I am so blessed and honored to be in a position to share, tools and tips and tricks that have the potential to heal and to bring you to a place of full sexual embodiment. And one of the tools that I absolutely love and have been using for the better part of a decade are crystal yoni products, including pleasure wands and yoni eggs. And I was so excited to recently come across a brand called Wands, Wands. I met the founder here in Austin and I absolutely loved who she was. I love getting to know the people behind the products that I like to use. And I just loved her mission to really support women and men to explore, celebrate, and honor their sexuality. I felt this transmission of slow, sensual seduction in all of who she was and all that she brought to the world. So I went ahead and gave it a try. I purchased a blue quartz Emerita wand, and the Emerita wand is great because it has this like cool bulby end on it, which is designed for G-spot and cervical stimulation, but can also be used for prostate stimulation. So it's great for men and women and can even be used between partners. So I'm so honored to have built this relationship with her and to be able to offer you guys an amazing discount code. So if you use the code Leola, Leola, that will give you 15% off all products. And the website is wands.com, Wands.com. And we'll go ahead and link that in the show notes as well for you. So thank you so much for listening. And also you're welcome for the inevitable pleasure and healing and ecstasy that is coming your way with these products. Let's dive into the episode. Welcome to Talk Tantra to Me. It is such an honor to be holding space for this divine knowledge to make its way into your ears and lifestyle. Today, I talk Tantra with Kaisa Merela. She is a sexual empowerment and feminine business coach. I am so grateful for her content and so appreciative that she's here on the podcast to share her perspective of living an expansive life. So thank you for being here, Kaisa. Why don't you start by telling us a bit about your journey becoming this incredible sexual empowerment coach, this liberator, and also your story about coming into the feminine business world? How did you discover this passion and purpose?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here. I love being here. I love your podcast. So it's an honor to be here. My story is quite different than many other stories because I feel like this work truly chose me. Like if I would have, like if someone would have asked me when I was like, I don't know, 20, like, is this like what you're going to choose as your profession? I would have never. So, yeah. So I think so. I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years. I'm now 28, and I started as a professional blogger. And how that happened was that I was a fitness geek. Like I was into fitness, working out, eating low calorie food, like sculpting your body and being like, oh, masculine and muscular. And then I I don't even know how it happened, but somehow I got introduced into the sex world. Like I got really interested about sexuality. And actually Kim Anami was one of the women that I found. And I was like, oh my God, she's talking about like life force energy and sexual energy and how women get to open up to everything in life through sexual energy, like men, money and opportunities and happiness and health and vitality. And it just really like hit me because I have already come to the vitality world through the physical, like exercising, eating healthy. So of course I wanted to go deeper. And then I realized that like sex is my next step. So I started to just really like talking about sex on my blog. And at that time, because my blog is in Finnish and my customers are in Finland, there really wasn't anyone talking about sex. So it was like a very brave thing to do. Like someone's talking about sex with their own face. Like it's not an anonymous blog, it's their own face. So it really got like the attention of media and everything. And then before I knew, I was giving interviews on like TV, magazines, and everywhere about sexuality. And then I realized that, okay, I'm just girl writing about sexuality. I really don't even have education for this. I really don't even know what I'm talking about, you know? I just have my own experience on the thing and kind of my own codes. And then it started to get into a point where I was like, I really want to have like education on this subject. So I went and got just basic sex education. So now I'm, I could go to schools and teach kids and all the kind of very basic, like science-based education. So that gave me the kind of confidence to like really view myself as someone who can teach other about these things. And then I shifted the fitness stuff had gone like long time ago. And then I shifted fully into this like sexual liberation of women. And I also in my studies realized that I'm really into like women's empowerment, because there's a lot of ways you can go in sex ed. You can, focus on children's sexual education or different groups. And I always knew that my passion is women and empowering women. So that's how I got into that field. And then as I went on and on, it really started to, because my own journey also goes along with this, it really started to take like spiritual levels, the whole thing. And now it's, the whole sex education thing is kind of like on the base, on the background. But then I have built my like own way of teaching and my own beliefs on this thing. So I really combine spiritual and sexual. And the feminine business thing also came kind of by accident, because I just have noted that I have built a very successful business not by ever going to business school. Like I have never even took a course on how to run business. I have just done my own thing. And thank God I did, because I never, heard how to do it, how you should do it. And which is mostly like very masculine. I don't know if you go to like official business school, it's very like, this is the proven way and this is how it should be done. And that kind of takes your creativity away and your like own unique way of doing it away. So I never done that. So I was just purely just a girl, trying out things. And then I kind of find a really successful way to do the business that supported my energy and was based on my energy, that I didn't have to be anyone else or do anything that didn't feel aligned for me. And it was really successful. So I felt like I had hit kind of this golden line of like, wow, we can have it all, like as women, like it can be successful and it nourishes you and you don't have to be anyone you're not. So then I realized I really have a lot to say about this as well. So that's how the business piece came. So
Yeah,
that's my
I love it. And they weirdly go super hand in hand with each other as well. I started in the Tantra space and now I also do business coaching. And it's interesting, like to me, it's like how you approach your sexuality is how you approach your business. Very often they're very similar. So it's like when people come to me for their business, we end up going into their sexuality. When they come to me for their sexuality, we end up going into their purpose work and things like that. And I also love that you started talking about how like women can have it all and like what that means. And I want to go into that more in a little bit. But before we get there, I want to kind of wrap around to talk a little bit more about when you first started talking about sex online and how that felt for you. Like, what did you have any fear like speaking about these topics, or did it feel very natural? Did you like, how was that?
So my biggest fear was actually my parents, because I don't know about you, but I was being brought up in a very like, we just don't talk about sex kind of environment. And I always knew that I would love to speak my truth about sex, but there was always this thing of like, I think I have to wait till my parents die before I can be free. And then when I realized that, what what am I thinking? Like, what am I manifesting? Like, that's crazy. Then I realized, like, I just have to rip the band-aid off. Like, I just
Yeah.
have to do it. And then it probably gets easier. So my like biggest fear is how my family is gonna take this, and and yeah, there was fear, and it was it's funny because it was fear, but it was also like very, even now I feel my body just tingling, like liberating, like, because I'm
Mm.
like Aquarius, so I love to do like shocking, radical things. So that's actually when I found also the like rebel side of me. Like it really turns me on to do what you're not supposed to do. So yeah, by opening my throat chakra and speaking, it just got louder and louder and louder. And I always say to my clients that even when you have like trouble talking about sex to a partner, just start it. Like just start, say anything. And once it gets going, it just gets really easy at the end.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that inner rebel, that violating prohibitions. It's almost like a kink. And when I first started in this world and in this work, I definitely had a lot of reservations, especially on like taking it on fully. Like it was one thing to kind of like share the books I was reading, but it was another to be like, and now I'm doing this work professionally, and now I'm starting a podcast, and like all of these things. Like when I first started working at, like I started doing tantric body work, and I like didn't tell anyone. Like I didn't even tell my best friends for like months because I was so afraid, and there was still so much shame and guilt and fear around like sexuality and sex work and all of these pieces. But eventually it came to this point where it was like, I have seen so many people's transformation and what's possible with this work. And for me to not use the voice that I have to speak the truth and to share these tools is a disservice to the world. And it's really not about me at the end of the day. It's about,
Yes.
all of the sexual violence that's happening in the world. It's about people living in a cage. It's about so much more than just like my ego being afraid of people not getting it.
Oh my God, 100%. And also, I feel like it's part of the initiation to go
Mm-hmm.
through that fear and that shame and, witch wound and all the things. And when you step to the other side, you're a different person because you have gone through the of kind of like ruining your reputation or whatever that is. And then
Yeah.
you're free and it's like, then you're empowered.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious how, like, did your parents end up like finding out, or like, how do they feel about your work now?
So we went through a rough patch. They didn't take it well. Yes, and we ended up having fights, and they were just really worried and scared, like what's going to happen to me. And because it was a new thing, like to be, I don't know, a sexual messenger in a healthy way. I don't think they knew that kind of thing existed. So they just
Mm-hmm.
thought that I went to this like very dark, wrong direction of, I don't know, becoming a, I don't know what I don't know what they were thinking, but I just saw the fear in their faces and like, oh, what this gonna mean to my future and career and relationships. And now I'm at the point when I've just proven that nothing bad happened, like I'm successful and women are being empowered within the presence of me. So now we're in a good place. But we went through like, I feel like I also initiated them to, like see like, oh, that's our daughter. Like, wow, like we birthed that. Like, like, this is not an accident that this is happening. Because of course, I'm some type of manifestation of their, shadows and deepest desires and everything. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the kids always like reflect, like they trigger us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they chose you for sure. They chose that triggering, they chose that soul experience, in my opinion. And that's so, so beautiful. So I'd love to pivot now into talking a little bit more about your work and like what you do today. Like, how does this manifest today? Like, what is the transformation that you're offering to women?
Yes. So I have 3 signature programs that I run once a year, and they are really like the cornerstones of my business. So one is about sexual empowerment purely, like just if you want to be empowered sexually, this is the place you go. And it's very broad and wide program. And it's
Mm-hmm.
actually a program that I made as a diploma when I graduated to be a sexuality educator. So it's like my official diploma work. And I put a lot into it. And then it's called Powerful Sexual Aware. And by the way, all these programs at the moment are in Finnish. So if everyone's just like, I'm gonna go there, it's in Finnish. Then I have one called Queen Salon for dating and really like self-love. And because I saw with the work with women that, like, for so many women, their deepest desire was just to find a man and be loved, and sometimes that can, stand between your empowerment. So I wanted to bring the dating, for single ladies, that piece of like finding it through you basically, and then you get the man as a plus, because that's how it goes, like
Yeah.
when you are ready, when you are home at you, when you are like fulfilled and in love, then the man, he just comes, and it's just a nice plus, really. So yeah, second one is dating, and then third one, my latest one, is for feminine embodiment and nervous system regulation and living a body-based life instead of like being in your mind. And that's really important program for me, because I have lived in my head for my entire life until I started feeling my own emotions at 26 years old. And that's how I learned for the first time what is emotion, how to feel emotion, what does it mean to feel emotion. It sounds so funny, but that's how it really went. And I realized that it's, first of all, in your body, and it's safe to feel emotions, because I'm so like in my head. I have a lot of air in my chart. So yeah, and through that, just like really receiving the juicy, healthy, and even like shedding weight. It's all about coming to your body and starting to live according to rhythms and cycle awareness and all that. So those are my three cornerstones. And then I have like small courses of the thing that like I'm currently excited, or like this channeling that's just coming through, and then I might do like yeah.
Beautiful. A couple of things I want to double click on. First of all, the living in your body thing is definitely working. You're just glowing. For those that are just listening and not actually watching the video, she's stunning. We'll share her. We'll share Kaisa's Instagram information at the end so you can see all of her amazing glamour and fabulousness and glow. But I want to talk about the like the lover, the work that you were talking about on finding the lover, and like finding that love within, and being so in love with yourself that the man becomes a bonus. Because I was talking, I have this core group of girlfriends in Austin, and some of us are married, some of us are in like long-term partnerships, and then there's like some of them are also single and like really wanting their man. And so we were just like reflecting on what we did to call in our men and where we were at in our lives at the time. And I remember being in that time where I was like, I'm ready to call in my husband. And I'm kind of afraid to, because my life is so awesome that I don't want to fuck it up. And of course, with the right person, it's like, it just gets so much better. Like, to me, a lot of the fear around getting into life partnership is the dissipation of the freedom that we have, or our lives changing in ways that don't feel supportive or liberating. And in fact, like, I feel more liberated. I feel like I have more freedom. I feel so supported. My work has gotten better. Like, pretty much every part of my life has gotten better because of it. So, and it was amazing before. And it's like, wow, it just keeps getting to get better. Like, how fucking dope is this? So I love that. Thank you for doing that work
Yeah.
as well.
And thank you for saying that out loud, because I feel like we have this conditioning of having to choose. And sometimes I even like recognize myself, being like very addicted to single life, because everything is in my control and I get to decide that I don't have to compromise and I don't have to, and
Yeah.
just to get even that framework of like, yeah, and the man could just amplify everything, and you don't have to make
Yeah.
yourself smaller and put yourself in a box, and now you can understand me better. I'm like this, like you can just like poof with the right guy.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because what I didn't expect are the things that I felt like would be like in the difference that my husband and I are very similar in some ways and very different in others. And in the ways that we're different, or in the ways that we do butt heads, because that's normal and healthy in a relationship, I actually find myself learning and growing from his way of doing things, and it makes my life better. So, for example, he's much more slow paced in his way of being and living. And I'm like, I want to pack in as much life as I can in, like, let's go. And in reality, while that has been really amazing in my 20s and I did so much, it's not really sustainable for the next chapter that I'm going into. And it's actually not really what I deeply desire. And his way of being has actually given me permission and evidence of it being okay to slow down and knowing that, like, I have so much life to live. I'm not going to miss out on anything. Um, but I also love what you were saying about we don't have to choose. Like, it can be both, or both and more. It does not either or, it can be both and more. And I think that's a really good natural transition into talking a bit about how the range of the feminine has expanded from being like choosing Madonna or whore to embody to now being like you can do and be it all. So I'd love to hear, I know that's like a big thing that you talk about, and I'd love to hear more about that from your words.
Yeah, it's a big, big piece. So it's really, I think it's interesting that women these days, like, we don't get taught that it was just like our grandmothers who literally had to choose, like,
Mm,
whether to be the outlaw sex worker, like, no family, no man, no security, just living off your next gig, and yeah, being a rebel, and what all the things that came with that, like a dark feminine qualities. And then being the like obedient wife, being the pure, being the virgin, just like kind of like buying your way into marriage by being virgin. That's what it was. Like, you had to stay virgin in order to get a good man and be safe and be, in their household and be secure. And then just do all the wife stuff, like take care of the home, the kids, that was your job description. And it's the change has been so rapid that I feel like our generation is really overwhelmed. Like, there's so much to choose from, and like our body and our nervous system still is kind of in the Madonna whore, like having to choose thing. But then our mind has just expanded, like all the things I can be. I can be an artist, I can be a traveler, I can be a superstar, I can be a, I don't know, sage, I can be a dark feminine goddess, I can be just this really beautiful, like maiden type of girl. I can be anything and everything. And also, you don't have to choose even between those. You can just like pick and choose what you want to embody today. So it's a lot. And just to even like recognize where you are choosing a box and where you are kind of shunning some qualities down in order to be something. And I feel like in my work, it's actually really funny because there's like a 50-50 of women who identify with the Madonna, and
mm-hmm.
the other half identifies with the whore. Like, I've always been viewed as the whore. Like, men never want to be in relationship with me, and they always just want the sex from me. And I always get catcalled, and I never feel like men really trust me, and I cannot trust men. And then half of them are like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm always end up in these sexless partnerships, and like I'm never viewed as sexy, I'm always viewed as cute. So it's really funny how we actually hold the codes for each other, if we're ready to learn. But usually what's like, we trigger each other. So the
Mm-hmm.
Madonnas trigger the whores, and the whores trigger the Madonnas, because back in the days, like the wives, they didn't like the whores. The whores didn't like the wives, because they had to share the same man, basically, because the man was using the whores to kind of fulfill their like sexual needs and the whole variety of like pleasure, and really being like indulging in life and hedonism and all that. And then the wives were kind of just breeding the kids and the
Yeah.
home quality.
So many things you said in there gave me chills. The first thing was this realization that it was only 2 generations ago, our moms and even like our mothers to a degree that had to choose one or the other, and like how deeply that lives in our DNA. And then the second thing was this piece on still women are mostly choosing one or the other. And then also, like, I think a lot of women that aren't in this work or just starting this work are then just like super triggered by the other version or the other like archetype. But it's like ironic because like actually we have the codes for each other, and like how beautiful is it that we get to be inspiration for each other and heal each other in that way. I think it's just incredible. And I do think that it's also overwhelming, this sense of like, okay, like how can I embody it all? Do I want to? Like, what does that mean? Can we go a little bit deeper into like your thoughts on like, is it worth it to embody it all? Like, what does that offer you? Like, I personally am like, I'm all of it and I love it. But I'm curious if you could speak into like what that brings women to be in, like to be able to shapeshift and be almost shamanistic in our expression.
Oh, I love that question so much. And yes, it is worth it. It's so worth it. Well, first of all, I feel like what happened to me was that I was able to heal my sisterhood wound because other sisters didn't trigger me so much anymore. Because I could see myself in all of them. And I kind of like, as you embody the full range of femininity, you really become one with your sisters. That's what happens, because when you're just trying to stay in one box, everything that's outside of the box is there to remind you that there is more. But how that feels is really like you're jealous and you just want to rip them down, and you don't want to see that. Even like if you see like hot women on social media, you're like, why do they have to like be like that? Oh, that is so cheap, and like all of that is just really like your inner whore wanting to just come out. So yeah, it is worth it. And it's I believe it's shadow work, because when you are in the Madonna side, your shadow is the whore, and it really wants to come out. And when you start to explore it and you can bring that to your consciousness, even Jung said that our shadow holds tremendous amount of energy. So when you bring your shadow to light, you actually get more life force, you get more energy, you're more energized. It's like you get more hours to your day. Like it feels amazing to bring your shadows to light. And yeah, when you're a whore, it's funny because often about when we talk about shadows, we talk about like very dark qualities, like there's something bad in your shadows. But for some people, there's actually like very innocent qualities in your shadows. Like even for me, I feel like in my shadows, there's a really ordinary person in my shadow, like really just wants really ordinary things. And we are not taught that that can be your shadow. So yeah, for them, there's innocent maiden or this loving, caring mother is their shadow. And that's what's their shadow work then.
Yeah, absolutely. There's these two different feminine superpowers in the light masculine, or sorry, the light feminine, the mother, the Madonna, you know, all of that. And then in the dark feminine, there's also like beautiful superpowers, and especially like a connectiveness to intuition and earth and sex and body. And to me, when you can like have both of those, like that's the queen. Like that's really when you're tapped into like your inner goddess, your divinity, because you're integrating like the light and the dark. Like we make the dark, a lot of society makes the dark out to be bad and wrong and scary, but it's really where there's so much power and transformation. You know, it's the seed in the soil, it's the caterpillar in the chrysalis, it's the baby in the womb. There's so much in the dark. And I'd also love to talk a bit about the dark masculine, and we'll get to that in a minute, because there was one more thing that I wanted to touch on, because like I used to be one of those women that was like, how like, oh, she's just on Instagram posting like that for attention, like that, you know, sexually expressed woman, look at her showing her ass, whatever it is. And like now I'm like 100% that woman. And it's also like, I love that I can like look at your content and instead of being in the energy of like unconscious jealousy or fear or judgment, I'm instead like, look at her, this fucking embodied goddess, like wearing lingerie, smoking a cigar, looking stunning. Like, it's just like, oh my God, like major inspiration and girl crush vibe, you know? And it's like, that's what I choose. Like, I'd rather have that than feeling that contraction, that shutdown. And I think that like, it's just so, so healing as well. They say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this is something that I really, really resonate with. And as I've invested in living a tantric lifestyle, my relationships have evolved and become so much more juicy and liberating. And I believe that this is something that everyone deserves. However, finding these people can be a little bit challenging at first. And so it is my mission to create more spaces for people to find individuals that are resonant with the tantric lifestyle, that are really resonant with you, the listener, the person who is investing their time into living a life that is expansive and liberating. So with that, I'm committed to creating more and more safe spaces for people to discover their desires and practice their boundaries, to connect in community, to celebrate and to grow together so that we can all step into a more authentic version of ourselves and experience truly unconditional love. So we have Tantra retreats for men, women, couples, singles. We also have female-only retreats just for the ladies stepping into their divine feminine. We have play parties. We have Tantra workshops, Tantra yoga, women's circles. We've got all kinds of really powerful in-person events. You can find all the details at www.talktantratome.com/events. You can also just go to talktantratome.com and click the events tab to find out about all the latest and the greatest. And if you're wanting me all to yourself, I can't blame you. I also host private retreats for both individuals and couples. Those are one-on-one. You get me all to yourself. And I'm available for private Tantra workshops and performances. And this is great for events like your birthday or maybe a bachelorette party or bachelor weekend. We can talk and create something that will be extra special just for you. So I cannot wait to connect with you in real life. But for now, thanks so much for your patience with this brief interruption, and let's get back to the episode.
Yes, 100%. I love that you brought up the cigar and the lingerie because it was a huge kink of mine. Like that photo shoot like really opened up a new world for me. And I feel like photo shoots are really about like embodying a new archetype. At least that's there for me. So when we did the photo shoot, I really tapped into the dark masculine. It turned me on. So yeah, let's go there. Let's go to dark masculine.
Great. You just keep going. I don't like, tell us all about it. Tell us all the juicy details.
Yes. So there is this in our nervous system and in our conscious collective, that womanhood there is this vibe of victimhood. And even if you haven't been a victim in your life, which most of us in some form have, but even if you haven't, there still lives this victimhood because it's just the story of women, basically. Like when you look at the history, like that's just how it went down. And we're carrying that vibration and that like unconscious patterning of victimhood. And you may not even be, it's funny because you may not even be aware of it. You just feel like powerless. And you feel like men, you maybe are afraid of men or are afraid of, walking when it's dark in the night, like outside, without like realizing that you're like clenching your whole body. It's very subconscious, or it may be conscious. So healing that and coming from the victimhood to because this is also like what we don't know, like how you heal victimhood is by the polar opposite archetype. So there's the victim and then there's the predator, the wrongdoer, the one who made you a victim. So And if you hold in your consciousness the victimhood, what's in your shadow is the wrongdoer, because they always come in pairs. So even if you're in your consciousness, you're a Madonna, there's four in your shadow. They come in pairs. So the work really is to find, like, even how I healed my victimhood, because I was really sad and angry and even depressed of the, like, how women are treated in this world, like in other countries, and what's happening, and all the stuff that is right now happening to women all over the world. It was really like, it felt so personal to me that I actually like gone into this depressive episode of, and then I went to therapy, and the therapist was trying, like, well, has something happened to you when you were a baby? And I was like, this is collective, like, no, this is so collective. I'm just feeling the suffering of all women, and that's actually the seed, like, why I'm here. Yes, so how I healed that was realizing that I am also the wrongdoer. Like, I'm not just victim, I'm also the wrongdoer. And this may take some work to realize, but how I got into that was realizing that I have had multiple lives. Like, this is not just one incarnation. So I actually went to this regression therapy, when you go explore your previous lives, and I saw some shit I didn't want to see. Like, I realized, like, in this life, I am here as a powerful woman, empowering women, because I have been the wrongdoer in some of my lives. Like, I have been the one who has caused this thing. So now this is kind of like a karmic incarnation for me. Like, I'm here to, like, make amends and empower. And you can, believe this or not, but that's like how I feel. And you can, however you believe, like, if we incarnate or not. But that's how I realized that, wow, we are one. And all the qualities that there are in the world, you can find them within yourself. And actually, when you bring, like, erotic sexual energy to this work, it gets, like, very powerful tool of transformation. So for me, like, just like thinking, oh, I'm the wrongdoer, and I'm the dark masculine who just, like, I don't know if, is this like trauma informed podcast? Like, can I say, like,
Go for it.
like, I'm this, rapist, and I want to just, like, take advantage of women and be violent and all that. Like, for some of us, that may not resonate, but when you bring sexual energy to it and kind of find the turn on in it and embody it. And also, I have theater background, so I have embodied masculine roles in theater. So it really helped me to tap into my own masculine. And by the way, when you start doing your inner masculine work and you start getting to know your inner man, it may shock you what kind of man there is. Because usually, if you are even subconsciously attracting, like, this very dark masculine man, and you just want this, like, safe man who's going to take care of you, and you have no idea why you're attracting, well, it's because your inner masculine is that guy. Like, it is the dark guy in you that's attracting them. So yeah, this photo shoot was really about being in, like, men only cigarette club, like, women are not allowed, maybe visiting strip club after this, and just, like, puff. And it was so liberating to find that within me.
So juicy. So juicy. Yeah. So I find too that it's like, I mean, in Tantra, they say, a lot of the journey is about balancing the inner masculine and the inner feminine. And that's a journey of wholeness, right? And what I find is when you find that light feminine, dark feminine, and then also your light masculine, dark masculine, like the queen is on one side. When you find your light feminine, you're in your dark feminine. And then when you find your dark masculine, your light masculine, that's the king. And together you are God.
Wow.
and it's a journey, but wow, what an interesting, like, when you were talking about your past lives and things, I was getting chills, and I was like, it's so fascinating. Like, what an empowering way to alchemize the feelings that you were having around the collective. And I know, like, I have an online community, and so many people in the community as well are like, how do I be okay with what's going on, and, like, feeling a lot of pressure from their families and communities to almost, like, be stuck in the victimhood. Like, you can't, like, there's only so much we can do about what's happening in the world, but the things that we can do that are going to be the most beneficial are to continue showing up in purpose. And it's clear that like that's what you did. You're like, I'm going to feel this, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to find a way out so I can help others find a way out too. And I think that's incredible. I don't even know where to go from here, but I'd love to talk more about like how it felt to be that, like the photo shoot. And was the photo shoot purely inspired by this transformation, or did you do it and then it was like coming to you in the moment, just out of curiosity?
Yes. So the photo shoot was to market my program, Powerful Sexual Aware. And because Powerful Sexual Aware is really about like dismantling the patriarchy, it's very like becoming aware of the patriarchy and then kind of how to swim in it. So I really wanted to bring the patriarchal like vibe to it. And I was thinking like, what comes to my mind when I think of patriarchy? And I saw this like cigar clubs, and we actually booked like for like, I feel like the most patriarchal hotel slash restaurant in my hometown in Helsinki. And we went there. It has like a long history of, you know, like these Finnish men, like old men being there and smoking cigars. So there was already the vibration there. And then I was just like, I don't know if the room has never seen like a woman in lingerie. And then I was there in lingerie. It was felt so like it was like reclamation, like I am
Yeah.
here. And yeah, I feel like so that photo shoot and also the work I have done in theater, in acting, like connecting to my inner masculine, it has been almost a scary experience to realize that I actually have a very strong masculine side of me. And the very strong masculine side of me is very dark. Like it is very dark. And when I tap into that energy, it's funny because I start to see even like women differently when I tap into that. I start to see
Mm.
it in a predator way. Like I start to having like this thought of like, oh, I want to like ravish her. I want to, it's so interesting when you go there because they're both sides, the feminine and masculine, are so strong in me. And it almost feel because when you're embodying an archetype, it might also be like it can be dangerous in a way, because if some archetype overpowers you, that's called like mental disease, you know, when you think that you're a queen, like you just wake up and you want everyone to like, you know, those
Yeah.
mental diseases. That's
Yeah.
like a archetype has just like take over, like overpowered you. So sometimes with my masculine, I can feel the edge of like, okay, I don't want to go like past that edge, but there the edge is. And to really like all the things, like it shifts how I think, what I feel, what I want to do. So from there, I have like I understand the dark masculine. This is what I'm trying to say. Like I understand where it comes from because I find it inside me. So that's also when I like talk to women about like the inner masculine work, like how it can be a turn on, because basically you're looking like what you're looking in men is your own inner masculine, the light and the dark. You're looking
Yeah.
for someone who can embody your own inner masculine, because everything you really want is your own inner union. And sometimes the other person is the one that can help you, like guide you to your inner union. So yeah, that's been really like my inner masculine turns me on, honestly. Like when you realize that what you have been looking for in men is in your own inner masculine, it's like it's
Oh
hot.
my God. So precious and hot all at once. Yeah, I've always had a pretty developed inner masculine as well. And I also felt this immaturity in my inner masculine. So a couple years ago, when I was doing some of this work, I guess it was like probably 5 years ago now, I I did this inner masculine meditation, and it was like visualizing who your inner masculine is now and who the like evolved divine version of your inner masculine is. And I remember the version of that moment was like at the time my inner feminine felt like timeless goddess, so tapped in, I've got this on lock. the inner masculine was like a typical early 20s dude, you know, like trying to figure it out, like climbing the corporate ladder, like so confused. And then I tapped into my divine masculine, who was like burly and was like a build, like he was like, I'm building things and I'm connected to the earth. Like it was just like, oh, okay. Like so very hot. And then I also now have this relationship to like the universe as like my divine masculine, like daddy provider in a way. And that's
Mhm.
very hot for me as well. But I love it. I love it all. So I want to start to like land us here with this conversation. I feel like I could keep going on and on. But is there anything else that you want to talk about or speak into before I wrap us up?
We're kind of a long way. Like I really, I really don't even know where to go. Like it's been a lot of like good stuff here.
I agree. Well, where can people find you, support you? I know that a lot of your programs or all of them are in Finnish, but if there's anything else, that I think a lot of my listeners are English speakers. So
Yes. So all my free stuff is in English. So if you just like follow me on Instagram, everything will be in English. Sometimes I may say something in Finnish for my Finnish clients, but yeah, I'm in on Instagram, Kaisa Minni, KaisaMinni. And that's really my main channel. Yeah, that's what I'm focused on. You can find me there and see
and
my
we'll
cigar.
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. We'll link all this in the show notes, and definitely go follow her and find what I'm talking about. This cigar, it's like imprinted in my brain. It really is like, oh my God, so dope. That being said, thank you so much, Kaisa, for joining me today. And I also want to express my gratitude to the listener. Thank you once more for opening yourself up to the idea of sacred sexuality. With so much gratitude and love, have a sexy and spiritual day. And I'll catch you next week on Talk Tantra to Me. Ta ta.